The House Judiciary Committee chamber was unusually quiet that morning. Reporters whispered in the back, staff shuffled papers nervously, and cameras blinked their little red lights, ready to capture every second. At the center of it all sat Jim Jordan, the congressman from Ohio, dressed in his signature white shirt and yellow tie. He leaned forward with the same confidence he had carried for years in this very room. For over a decade, Jordan had been the heavyweight of these hearings. Fast-talking, sharp-tongued, and unrelenting. He was known for dominating witnesses, overwhelming opponents, and crafting sound bites that went viral within minutes. But this morning felt different. Across from him, seated firmly with a thick binder in front of her, was Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas. She wasn't fidgeting. She wasn't checking her phone. She wasn't rehearsing notes under her breath. No, Crockett was still, focused, collected, almost eerily calm. Her staff had been up all night, combing through every line of legal references Jordan had used in past hearings. Case after case, statute after statute, amendment after amendment. And what Crockett found was explosive. Jordan had built years of arguments on shaky ground, twisting citations, misquoting rulings, and leaning on half-true interpretations of the Constitution. For the first time, someone was ready to call him out, not with emotion, not with politics, but with the law itself. To understand the magnitude of this moment, you need to know who these two people really are. Jim Jordan isn't a lawyer. He never argued in front of a judge. His career began on wrestling mats, not in courtrooms. But he carried that wrestler's mentality into politics: attack fast, overwhelm your opponent, and never, ever back down. Over time, he had mastered the art of speaking like a legal expert without ever having practiced law. It worked. His rapid-fire style made him a star on cable news, and his reputation as the loudest fighter in the room went unchallenged. Jasmine Crockett, on the other hand, was the real deal. A civil rights attorney from Dallas, she had argued in actual courts, defended real clients, and fought cases that had consequences far beyond TV soundbites. She wasn't built for theatrics. She was built for precision. Where Jordan thrived on noise, Crockett thrived on accuracy. Today wasn't about politics for her. Today was about showing the difference between knowing the law and performing the law. At exactly 10 a.m., Jordan banged the gavel. "This committee will come to order," he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. For the next 10 minutes, Jordan launched into his usual rhythm, fast, fiery, and filled with references to the Constitution. He claimed the Justice Department was weaponized against conservatives. He cited statutes. He rattled off cases. He waved documents dramatically. To the casual listener, it sounded flawless. But Crockett was listening differently. With every statute, he quoted, her pen circled a line in her binder. With every case he invoked, she scribbled notes. She wasn't just hearing him, she was dissecting him. When Jordan finally leaned back, satisfied with his performance, the camera zoomed in. Reporters leaned forward. They were ready for the same spectacle they had seen dozens of times. Jordan overpowering his opponent. But instead, they got silence. And then a calm, steady voice. "Mr. Chairman," Crockett began, "with all due respect, much of what you just stated is inaccurate." The room froze. Jordan blinked, surprised. Rarely did anyone interrupt his narrative so directly, let alone a freshman congresswoman. Crockett flipped open her binder, her fingers landing precisely on a page. "You cited Section 242 of Title 18 as evidence of overreach by the Justice Department. But what you failed to mention is that the Supreme Court has repeatedly limited its application to cases involving willful violations of constitutional rights. Your interpretation is not only misleading, it's legally incorrect." Murmurs spread through the gallery. Reporters glanced at each other. Jordan leaned forward. "Congresswoman, But Crockett didn't raise her voice. She didn't rush. She simply turned another page. And when you quoted United States versus Lopez just now, you implied it restricted federal oversight in cases of political bias. In reality, that case dealt with the Commerce Clause and struck down a gun-free school zones law. It had nothing to do with political investigations. Once again, your citation is out of context. Gasps rippled through the room. Jordan's weapon, his rapid-fire list of cases, was being dismantled calmly, systematically, and on record. Jordan tried to recover. He raised his voice, waved papers in the air, accused Crockett of misrepresenting his intent. But for every word he threw, she had a page number, a precedent, a ruling. "Respectfully, Congressman," she said at one point, "it is not me misrepresenting the law. It is you. And this committee and the American people deserve accuracy." That line hit like a thunderclap. The reporters in the gallery typed furiously. Staffers exchanged nervous glances. Even Jordan's Republican colleagues shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. For years, Jordan's aggressive style had gone unchecked. But now, for the first time, someone wasn't just standing up to him. They were out lawyering him. Then came the moment that would replay endlessly on social media. Jordan raised his voice to its peak, jabbing a finger toward Crockett. "This is about the weaponization of government. You can't deny that." Crockett looked at him, unflinching. Then she leaned forward, her voice steady but sharp. "What I cannot deny, Congressman, is that the weaponization here is not from the Department of Justice. It is from the distortion of the law in this very chamber. You have spent years citing cases you've never practiced, statutes you've never argued, and legal principles you've never tested in court. But I have, and I will not sit silently while you turn this committee into a stage for misinformation." The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, even a few stunned chuckles from the press corps. Jordan sat back, momentarily speechless. That was the viral clip. That was the dagger. Jordan tried to recover. He raised his voice, waved papers in the air, accused Crockett of misrepresenting his intent. But for every word he threw, she had a page number, a precedent, a ruling. "Respectfully, Congressman," she said at one point, "it is not me misrepresenting the law. It is you. And this committee and the American people deserve accuracy." That line hit like a thunderclap. The reporters in the gallery typed furiously. Staffers exchanged nervous glances. Even Jordan's Republican colleagues shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. For years, Jordan's aggressive style had gone unchecked. But now, for the first time, someone wasn't just standing up to him. They were out lawyering him. Then came the moment that would replay endlessly on social media. Jordan raised his voice to its peak, jabbing a finger toward Crockett. "This is about the weaponization of government. You can't deny that." Crockett looked at him, unflinching. Then she leaned forward, her voice steady but sharp. "What I cannot deny, Congressman, is that the weaponization here is not from the Department of Justice. It is from the distortion of the law in this very chamber. You have spent years citing cases you've never practiced, statutes you've never argued, and legal principles you've never tested in court. But I have, and I will not sit silently while you turn this committee into a stage for misinformation." The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, even a few stunned chuckles from the press corps. Jordan sat back, momentarily speechless. That was the viral clip. That was the dagger. From there, the power dynamic flipped completely. Jordan kept trying to steer the conversation back, but his rhythm was broken. Every attempt met with Crockett calmly citing another precedent, another statute, another ruling. What made it devastating wasn't just that she was right. It was how unshaken she remained. Jordan was fiery. Crockett was ice. He performed for cameras. She educated them. And the contrast was undeniable. By the end of the session, Jordan looked rattled, his usual swagger gone. Crockett, meanwhile, closed her binder, adjusted her microphone, and leaned back with quiet confidence. The moment the hearing adjourned, clips flooded the internet. Within an hour, Crockett versus Jordan was trending on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, everywhere. Headlines read, "Freshman Congresswoman dismantles Jim Jordan with legal masterclass." Jasmine Crockett exposes years of misquotes in one hearing. David versus Goliath. The day Jim Jordan finally met his match. Conservative commentators scrambled to defend Jordan, but the footage was undeniable. Every time he shouted, she answered with facts. Every time he twisted a statute, she untwisted it with case law. Memes flooded timelines. Side-by-side clips of Jordan sweating and Crockett calmly flipping pages went viral. Hashtags like hashtag legal masterclass and hashtag Crockett versus Jordan exploded. For Crockett, a first-term congresswoman, it was career-defining. For Jordan, it was reputation-shaking. But beyond the viral clips and headlines, the moment carried a deeper significance. It was about more than two politicians clashing. It was about the difference between performance and substance. For years, hearings like this had been reduced to political theater. Loud voices, dramatic gestures, quick sound bites. But Crockett reminded the nation that hearings are supposed to be about the truth and the law. She didn't win because she yelled louder. She won because she came prepared with facts, with receipts, with reality. And in doing so, she showed that precision will always outlast performance. In the days that followed, Crockett's name became a staple in national conversations. She appeared on major news outlets, calmly explaining what had happened. Law professors praised her for restoring integrity to congressional hearings. Young lawyers and law students shared clips of her as inspiration. And Jim Jordan? For the first time in his career, the aura of invincibility cracked. Every time he opened his mouth in future hearings, critics would ask, "But is that accurate? Or is this another misquote?" The balance had shifted. The storm he had commanded for years had finally met someone unshakable. And that morning in the Judiciary Committee chamber, history wasn't just made, it was corrected. Because on that day, the law itself finally spoke louder than the performance. So when history looks back on that hearing, it won't remember it as just another partisan fight. It will remember it as the day a freshman congresswoman from Texas, armed only with a binder of facts and the courage to speak truth, stood up against a veteran political warrior and won.